boom. Oh, hello there. Didn't see you. I was just reading my special edition copy here, Fabius Bio, Primogenitor, because tonight is all about Slaanesh. I am ready for Slaanesh. I am pumped, and I hope you are too. Welcome to episode 3 of Warp Surge Radio. Slaanesh is the new meta. So we've got a whole lot to cover tonight. I've got a lot of great content for you. A lot of people wanted me to talk about Slaanesh, and so tonight we're going to go over what you can do with the new units and the new combos in Vigilus Ablaze, and combining that with some of the changes in chapter proof to the demon units for Slaanesh and Codex Demons. And we're going to talk about the new models that just came out for Age of Sigmar for Slaanesh, which we all know they're going to be for Warhammer 40,000 too, and Games Workshop has said that they're also for Warhammer 40,000, and in fact they're going to get new rules for all those models, even the classic ones like the Mask. And once we get done with a whole lot of Slaanesh goodness, I am going to talk about a tournament I went to a little over a week ago where I got first place with the exact Mortarion list that I previewed on episode 2 of Warp Surge Radio, when I talked about some Nurgle and Death Guard and Vigilus Ablaze tactics. And so a lot planned. I'm going to try to go quickly. But hey, if you're watching on the live chat, I'm going to pull up a little box here in a little bit so that we can chat back and forth. So just let me know if the audio is good to make sure you can hear me. And otherwise, here we go. And if you have any questions as we go along, just throw them into the chat. I'll read them out loud. I'll answer them, and we'll keep going because I want to know what you guys think. I know Slaanesh is really popular. So many people asked me to do this episode, so I'm excited. A lot of new people subscribe today to the YouTube channel, so if you like what you see today, please consider subscribing. All right, so here we go. Let's start going through these one by one. And I've got here my nice new collector's edition of Vigilus Ablaze with all the hot new stuff. And if I want to double check something, I've also got my new copy, version 2 of Chaos Space Marine Codex. I did a special episode, not of Warp Surge Radio, but just something on the channel that I live streamed a couple days ago where I unpacked all that stuff and all the web exclusive cool chaos items like the Cultist Dog Chain. So if you want to see that, go check out that show. It was another live stream. It's about 30 minutes long. But let's get into all the good Slaanesh stuff here. So really exciting. There's just so much here in Vigilus Ablaze, but there's 3 units that hey James, thanks for checking in. Yeah, I'm glad you're liking the video. I'm glad it's sounding a little better. I spent a lot of time making some graphics that we're going to walk through so that you guys aren't lost when you're watching it. And so if you like it, make sure you subscribe, ask your friends to subscribe. That way I know all the effort is worth it. So let's see here. I want to pull up the chat window too. So let's do that real quick. We'll replace the background here with something a little different. Yep, okay. Here we go. All right, there we go. That's better. Now you can see a little better that I've got this beautiful Daemonette right next to me. She's dancing. It's a party up in here, up in the Warp Surge Radio studio. We're having a good time. Yeah, Michael, I don't know why the playback stopped on you. I haven't gotten an alert or anything, so let me know if it keeps being a problem for you. But let's pull up a chat window here so I don't have to keep looking at another screen. It's neat what you can do with all of these little windows here. So, all right, so there's you guys. Let's shrink that chat window a little bit so that I can pull up some other stuff too. And then we'll start going into some of this stuff here. So let's take a look at some of the changes to the Chaos Space Marine units. And some of this is because they just straight up changed the data sheets for the Chaos Space Marine units. And some of these changes come from the fact that, you know, hey, looks like we are going to get just a whole bunch of Renegade stuff in Vigilus Ablaze, which is definitely not what I expected. I had episode 2 Warp Surge Radio. I talked about what I thought we were going to get, and I knew we were getting Black Legion, but I was pretty surprised that we were just getting all this other stuff instead. So let's talk about some of these combos here that we've got going. So I'm going to shift a little bit here. So everybody knows about obliterators, right? It's a bit of a question, you know, is it really worth it to still run obliterators? They went from 65 points to 115 points each. Kind of a shame. And a lot of people have posted on my page, Hexfleet Virules, hey, do you still think obliterators are worth it? Yeah, they are, but I think only if you take them as Slaanesh. Now, before, you did sometimes see something a little different. You saw people taking Tzeentch obliterators and maybe taking Changeling, especially when it was still -1 to hit. Or you saw, and I still think this is viable, you know, Nurgle obliterators. Now you can put them with a Gnarl, and they have a really great cover save and can do some other stuff. But really, at 115 points each, I think it's only Slaanesh that's really worth it. Because that's the only time the math works out better for you, is if you use Cacophony on them to shoot twice, and then you hit Veterans of the Long War, you hit them with Prescience or one of the new Dark Apostle Prayers, and then you're shooting 36 shots. You probably got a Cast Lore nearby, 36 shots, hitting on 2s, rerolling. You're probably wounding on 2s, the Veterans of the Long War. You could have a Master Possession nearby now, which is new from the Malefic Discipline tree, and you're probably wounding on 2s, rerolling 1s for 36 shots that are 1, 2, or 3 damage each. And as I mentioned on episode 2, there's actually, you can get it so that you reroll all 3 of those dice. If you also ally a Tzeentch demon or a Thousand Suns demon into your armies for the Gaze of Fate, you can have a die reroll, Gaze of Fate, and then a reroll from the new Malefic tree to reroll on a demon unit from your Legion. So you can actually reroll all 3 of those. So it's a lot of points, and it's a good number of command points. Only 3 every time you shoot, but not bad. Yeah, hey there. Hey, Neil. Thanks for joining. So you have those 36 shots that are going to hit on 2s rerolling, wound on 2s rerolling against pretty much everything in the game, and you can reroll all 3 of those dice to make sure you get your full mileage. So, hey, Michael. Yeah, yeah, and you guys, if you guys want to debate something in the chat too, feel free, and I'll chime in. But so I think that's very powerful. But there's another component here, which is you went from having, you know, toughness 4, and I think it was only 3 wounds each on the obliterators, to now you have 4 wounds each. And so those 2 changes make a really big difference in their durability, which now means if you hit them with the Slaanesh Chaos Space Marine power, which is, by the way, if you've never noticed this, the power that's in Chaos Space Marines to cast on a Slaanesh unit is the same one that's in Codex Demons, but it's different. And yeah, so Delightful Agonies. In Chaos Space Marines, if you cast it on a Chaos Space Marine unit, you've got a 5-up Feel No Pain. But if you use the Codex Demon version and cast it on demons, or you cast it on like your obliterators, because they're also Slaanesh demons, it's only a 6-up Feel No Pain. So if you want to use it on obliterators, you probably want to take a Chaos Sorcerer or Psyker with Marcus Slaanesh. But now that you have toughness 5 and 4 wounds each, that makes that power a lot better in terms of the efficiency. So that's another reason you really should only run obliterators as Slaanesh now. So that's kind of obvious. People know Slaanesh obliterators are good. And yeah, in my opinion, as long as you're taking them as Slaanesh and you've got some of those things in your army, they can still be worth it. But there's a lot of other units that people don't really think about with Slaanesh. And there's 2 that really stood out to me when I started looking at stuff and when I went through the book. And one of them is the Greater Possessed, and the other one is the Lord Discordant. So I've got pictures of both of those right here. So let's talk about the Greater Possessed. Obviously, he's got that aura of +1 strength to your other Legion Slaanesh demon units. That's great. Also affects himself. For 70 points, he has awesome stats. I think people forget that a Chaos Lord with like a chainsword and a bolt pistol is 74 points. So this guy is one of the cheapest HQs. He moves fast. You can put him in an army that also has Slaanesh demons from Chaos Demons Codex. So you can have, heralds on foot, and you can have demon princes with wings from that codex. And as long as it's a detachment with only Slaanesh demons, they've got that aura that gives them advance and charge. So imagine you've got a bunch of these cheap 70-point Greater Possessed guys who are Marco Slaanesh. Well, you have those allied demons in there, and they are moving. What is it that they move? They move a good amount on foot. I think 7 inches is what this new unit moves. Let's confirm that. Or are they elites now? I thought that they were... I guess they are elites. Okay, so, yeah, they move 7 inches. I was right. So if you've got a allied character from Codex Demons that has that aura up, you are, with that Locust, moving 7, potentially going 6, 13, and then you can assault, 12. So potentially you have first turn charges on these guys, even though they're only infantry. Even if the other guy didn't move out of his deployment zone. If you deploy at the line, there's a chance, if you bring allied demons, that this guy's making it. So that's pretty cool. But the thing that a lot of people don't pay attention to is nobody thinks about Emperor's Children, right? Very few people, except a few people really devoted, pay much attention to that chapter tactic, that Legion trait of always strike first. Well, do you really want to buy a 70-point guy that's only melee? Well, if you have 4 or 5 or 6 of them and all of them always strike first, your opponent is going to have a horrible time dealing with that. Because even if they're charging you with a bunch of units, you've got all these little guys everywhere that are heroic interventioning on each other or other stuff, and all of them count as charging. And if you really wanted to get fancy, you could also bring an allied detachment of Death Guard and bring a Foul Blight Spawn, a 1 or 2, or bring the Helm that they have a 10-inch aura on one guy, and suddenly this guy assaults you with his whole army, and all of your guys go first. All these Emperor's Children, Greater Possessed. So I think these guys hit really hard when they go first because they have very good stats for what they do. And there's one more little trick. A lot of people don't know about this because they don't play Emperor's Children, they never see it. But, Endless Cacophony is not the only stratagem you've got there in that book. The Emperor's Children stratagem is called Excess of Violence, right? Well, it works on Emperor's Children infantry, which this guy is infantry, and use it before it fights in the fight phase, or when it attacks. Each time it slays an enemy model, it can immediately make another hit roll using the same weapon at the same target. And it's only 1 command point. And these guys do D3 damage. Their strength, I think, 6. So the fact, if you have a bunch of these little guys everywhere and they're all striking first, and one of them can do extra attacks, I mean, they come with 5 attacks each, and they have Death to the False Emperor, right? So 5 attacks, potentially getting extra attacks on 6 versus Imperials, and then you trigger one of those command points. It's a 1 command point stratagem. Your opponent has no idea which of your Greater Possessed you're going to use it on, and suddenly, this guy might be, he might kill 5 models and then do another 5 attacks. And it's AP -2, Strength 6, and D3 damage. So this guy potentially kill a squad of like Custodes Terminators, or even Death Guard Terminators, the Blight Lords, because if you do 3 damage, that guy's going to have a pretty hard time trying to make all those feel no pains if he loses that 4-up invulnerable save. So for 70 points, and he's toughness 5, and he has 5 wounds, and he has an invulnerable save, he's hitting on 2s, so if you bring a Slaanesh Demon Prince nearby with wings, not only are you able to advance and charge because of the Locust, but now you're re-rolling 1s. So these guys, I think, are in an Emperor's Children. Like you bring a Vanguard with like 1 HQ, maybe even want to bring, you know, some sort of themed HQ, and then you bring like 3 sets of 2 Greater Possessed each, because it's 2 per the data sheet if you want. And there's I don't remember if it's Vanguard, the one that's the 3 elites, but that would be a detachment right there for a command point. And you can just take them all and maybe take the rest, 2 battalions of Slaanesh demons or something. So, and yep, Neil, you're right. It's a good target for Diabolic Strength. Oh, Michael, yeah, you played with 2 Greater Possessed. Wow. That's actually, yeah, a good point. A lot of people love to use these 10-person cultist or little screens for like their Imperial Guard infantry squads to run with their knights or whatever, and they move them up to block out your deep strikes or to keep you from getting to the Castellan or something. Well, you know, they're moving up with all these little guys, and then you've got suddenly all these little Greater Possessed running around, advancing and charging, and they're going to reach combat if they push out these little squads, and they're going to murder these squads. And they're still characters, so you can hide them if you've got other stuff in front. So I think that's great. But let me tell you the thing that I love the most, which is taking one of these Lord Discordants, and I don't think it matters really what legion you make them, as long as you give them the mark of Slaanesh. So again, Mark of Slaanesh, same thing. He moves 12, just like a Demon Prince, so you can do the same thing again, bring some allied Slaanesh Demon Princes with wings, with the Locust. Suddenly this guy's moving 12, potentially 14, if you take that special attachment and bring that Warlord trait to move an extra 2. So he moves 14, he's advancing D6, and he's assaulting 2D6. That guy is reaching combat on the first turn, unless you're playing like Hammer and Anvil, and even then he might get there. And this guy's a beast. If you add up all his attacks, he's got like 12 different attacks. If you bring the Bale Flamer, he's 180 instead of 160 points. But then he can, you know, move 14, advance D6, flame it 18 inches out, and then still charge, right? And auto hit with that Flamer. Not bad. Oh, but then you can give him all these little relics that are just super, super cool. You can make him Black Legion for the Warlord trait to give him, he halves his damage and he regenerates a wound every turn. Not bad. Oh, hey, by the way, he's 12 wounds. He's got a 2-up save and a 5-up invulnerable save. Why don't you cast that 5-up Feel No Pain power on him too? So now he's really annoying to get rid of. Oh, I didn't realize Alpha Legion had a Warlord trait for that. I thought their Warlord trait was that when your guy dies, another guy can become the Warlord. Yeah, Black Legion. So, yeah, that's what I love. I think everyone's talking about that on Lord Discordant. It's really good. The really cool thing about, some people don't know this, but in both of the Vigilus books, there's a special stratagem that comes in there, Field Commander. So it doesn't have to be your main Warlord you're risking. If you pay the 1 command point to make a detachment, that Soulforged pack detachment or whatever it's called, you can pay 1 more command point and just give this guy the Warlord trait, right? You can even give him the Warlord trait that he and everybody, all the other demon engines are moving 2 extra inches, which is great. Or you can give him the Warlord trait, Black Legion, half damage, really good too. And then you can give him the special relic, Mechatendril relic, so that everyone within 1 inch, instead of him getting 2 extra attacks from that, he's getting an attack for every model within 1 inch of him. So you throw him into like a whole bunch of orcs and they surround him, you know, suddenly this guy is getting like 20 or 30 attacks when you add everything up. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. And you can buff him with all the powers that you can buff Slaanesh demons with as well. So for example, let's see if I have it on me. I should have grabbed this earlier. So let's look in here, Codex Demons. Let's take a look at some of these psychic powers from Slaanesh. Hysterical Frenzy, this is what I'm thinking of. It's 18-inch range, just Slaanesh Demon, so you can cast it on a Lord Discordant or you know, one of these other units. and it's in a psychic phase, so it assumes you're already in combat, because you have to be within 1 inch already. The unit fights again as if it were the fight phase. So, everybody talks about Khorne spending 3 command points to fight twice, but that's only with infantry. What about a Lord Discordant with those special relic, mecha tendrils, and he's in a big squad of guys, or he's fighting multiple squads, and he's doing, 12 to 25 attacks, and he fights once, and then he gets surrounded, or you push him into stuff where they can't move out of the way, and then, there's another fight phase, or they charge into it, and then it's your turn again. Hey, look, all of a sudden, he's going to fight again in the fight phase for just an 8 warp charge power, no command points needed, right? Imagine this guy with this many attacks fighting twice when you throw that on him. And you can just throw all this other stuff on him as well. So really, really good. I like that combo a lot. I think there's a lot you can do with these 3 units if you make them Slaanesh. And I think you can build a whole army around some of these units, and a sorcerer or master of possessions as an ally, and then your other stuff is like, hey, I'm going to bring 90 daemonettes, because now daemonettes are only 6 points each. I think it's 205 points for 30 daemonettes, and the instrument, and the icon. That's a really good deal. The mask's ability to subtract -1, I think, from daemonette units to hit them, if I'm remembering that right, that's a really underrated ability too. And hey, by the way, daemonettes are super cheap. I think they went down to 60 points in chapter approved, if I remember right. Really good. They're psychers. They're fast. They fight in melee. They're characters. You can hide them. They always strike first, right? And they're 60 points. And they're going to add +1 strength to these obliterators, or the Greater Possessed, or the Lord Discordant if you make the Marcus Slaanesh. And that stacks with the Greater Possessed aura. So do you really want to make all these Chaos Space Marine units +2 strength? I think I would. That's not bad at all. And yeah, like the mask's ability here, I'm just looking it up to make sure I don't give you the wrong thing. I have basically all of Chaos memorized across all the codexes, but every so often I do get something wrong. But yeah, Mask of Slaanesh. Nope, I got it right. Yeah, your opponent must subtract 1 from any hit rolls in a fight phase to target a daemonette unit within 6 inches of the mask. So you can easily put her in, within 6 inches of 90 daemonettes, and your opponent charges a bunch of Genestealer cults or orcs into them, first turn. Hey, they all count as charging, so you're going to take turns fighting. He doesn't want that when he's charging you with everything. And by the way, he's -1 to hit them all with all those acolytes or boys or storm boys. So you can make a mixed Chaos Space Marine and Slaanesh Demon army where everyone has Slaanesh, and you put some of the stuff in there with all those characters being so cheap, daemonettes being cheap, Greater Possessed are really cheap for 70 points. Obliterators aren't cheap, but the Master Possession isn't that expensive, and neither is the Sorcerer. So you have the points to do a lot of stuff and really mess up some of these horde armies that are melee-based that are getting more and more popular. I think that there's a lot of potential for someone to go win a tournament with Slaanesh now. So I do think it's the new meta, and to some extent, I think Slaanesh is by far the best mark in the Chaos Space Marine book, especially with all the new units and all the changes. Let's talk about some of the really neat Vigilus Ablaze stuff, though. I've got one thing in particular, and some people have already been talking about this. Let me pull up the picture here real quick. Let's see here. This is the next thing that I want to talk about. All right. So let's talk about this guy. If you want to go Slaanesh theme, let's talk about the Flawless Host Demon Prince. Flawless Host, really cool chapter. I finished reading the Vigilus Ablaze story yesterday. Some of the main story is a little lame, but they have all this cool side stuff of like the Thousand Suns and Slaanesh demons fighting the Dark Eldar, and the Purge and the Death Guard fighting each other. Really neat stuff. I really enjoyed that part. And the Flawless Host, they're like these guys that they show up in a city and they notice all the rich people in the hive cities, all the Imperials, the fat planetary overlords or whatever. They're like hoarding all the water and all the food and having wild sex parties, because that's what you do when you run a hive a hive city, and the Flawless Host showed up, and they're mad that they're getting fired on because they just want to party. They're arriving on the planet with their party buses, and then they get there and they're like, well, first of all, you shouldn't have shot at our little drop pods, but also we see this party you're having, and it's really wild, but not nearly enough sex and drugs. And so we're disappointed. You're not flawless like us. So we're going to show you what a real party looks like. And they summon these daemonettes from everywhere, right? And they just kill everybody. And then the Iron Warriors who've been sieging the city, they finally break through. And they get there and everybody's already dead because the Flawless Host, they're having their own parties. So let's talk about why this guy's cool. And this isn't my model. It's a cool model I found that I just threw some graphics on. But why am I excited about the Flawless Host, Demon Prince? Well, let's take a look at the Warlord trait in Vigilus Ablaze in the new book for Flawless Host. All right, it says here, Ultimate Confidence. Well, I guess you have to understand what the trait is for Flawless Host. It is Death to the Imperfect. Every time you roll a 6+, and it's not an unmodified, right? It's just a normal 6+, so you can modify it. In the fight phase, you make an extra attack, and it stacks with Death to the False Emperor. So the Warlord trait for your Warlord, which you probably want to be a Demon Prince, it bumps it. It bumps it up to a when you roll that 6+, instead of getting 1 extra attack, you get 3 extra attacks, and that also stacks with Death to the False Emperor. So imagine you're this guy, Flawless Host Warlord with that trait, and you charge like a knight or something. Well, let's also make it interesting, and you give him the Chaos Space Marine Relic. That's the elixir that gives him +1 strength and +1 attack. And he's got the 2 claws like the guy in the photo here. So now you're starting with 8 attacks, strength 8, hitting on 2s, rerolling. Every one of those 6s against that knight is 4 more attack rolls. They don't generate more, but that's a lot. Well, now let's say that you cast Prescience on him. So now he's got these 8 attacks, and every 5 or a 6, and again, the 1's rerolls, so you might get some extra ones if you missed them with the 1 the first time. Every 5 or a 6 is another 4 attacks against that knight. So all of a sudden, let's say you get 3, 5, or 6s after the rerolls, and your other 5 hits hit. Those rerolls are probably going to hit as well with the 2-up rerolling ones. So that's like 12 extra attacks. You started with 8. Hey, look, my strength 8 Flawless Host Demon Prince is only 180 points. Just hit your knight or your terminators or your squad of Ogren 20 times off of one guy, right? That's more than you'll get with Mortarion hitting a non-Imperial unit. He only does 18. And so, especially if you're playing like a low point game or something, this guy will hit like an absolute truck. And hey, by the way, you can do the same thing to him that I mentioned on the other units. If he's still in combat or he gets charged, and then it's your turn, and you've got some allied Slaanesh Demon Psychers, cast that power on him. And in the Psychic phase, he's going to attack again and maybe get like another 20 attacks in your Psychic phase. So, and of course, if you got all 5s and 6s re-rolling that first time, then you've got 8 hits, and then you roll another, let's see, so 4 times 8. So you roll another 32 dice. And so, this guy could potentially hit Imperials 40 times. And not much less on, non-Imperials, even if you don't have Death to the False Emperor. So really, really, really good. I think this is one of the coolest things in the coolest combos you can do. Now, here's a funny fact. All those Renegade chapters from, Vigilus Ablaze that are themed to a specific god, like I think the Scoured are Tzeentch, Flawless Host is Slaanesh, the Purge is Nurgle. Unless they FAQ it, there's not actually any rule in here that you have to be that mark. So in theory, you could do Flawless Host with a Nurgle army or something, but it's not very thematic, and I think it's actually here. If you go by the fluff and you give him Mark of Slaanesh, and you give him, you know, that elixir. I think it's really good. That strength 8 for knights and for wounding, you know, Space Marines on 2s. The extra attack is great because that's an extra potential 5 attacks if you counter in all this stuff. So, yeah, I think it's just really, really strong. And by the way, he's going to benefit from an allied Herald of Slaanesh with that +1 strength, and he's going to benefit from that Greater Possessed if you bring him from a Flawless Host. So that's pretty wild. You can be hitting at strength 10 base with this guy. Doesn't suck at all. And, you know, who really needs Veterans of the Long War at that point? You know, their stratagem isn't great. It's 1 command point. They reroll hit rolls, but that's not bad either. You might even use it on this guy. You can use it on, well, it's on infantry, so you can't use it on him. But if you've got a unit that is getting hit by a lot of minus modifiers, this is something that's in this new book. They might change it for all the armies, but this is something that's just really slick, and that makes Abaddon a lot better too. You can, you know, normally you do the modifiers after rerolls. So, you know, if you've got a -3 and you reroll all your hits, well, too bad, you know, Gieman, Bobby G, because you're only going to reroll, you know, normally hitting on, if your weapon skill is a 2-up, you're rerolling all the 1s, ignoring the rest that you know are going to miss, and then even with your rerolls, like with a -3, oh, everything 1 through 4 is a miss and only 5 and 6 is hit. Well, now that they've changed all the stuff in this new book to reroll hits, you can choose. You can pick up all those dice and say, hey, look, I know these 2s and 3s are also going to be misses after modifier, so let me roll again and see if I get a higher number. So that's not a terrible strategy for 1 command point either for the Flawless Host. So definitely consider that guy if you want to bring a fluffy Slaanesh-based army. So let's talk about the other crazy stuff that's coming out. Yeah, we'll go in here and change this up. Let's see what we have here. Hey, look, this was on Warhammer Community today. Does that look like anything you might have seen before? Wow, that's really, really similar, isn't it? Right? And even if you look at the binding on this book, hey, look, it's a bunch of, like, wounded, screaming faces, right? By the way, this is one of the best Black Library things that they ever did. Gee, I wonder what that could be. Oh, yeah, you know. Hey, look, kind of looks a little Slaanesh-y. Hey, look, kind of seems like Fabius Bile, right? And so if you notice what happened with Age of Sigmar since they rebooted it, they did all this stuff near the end of when they were going to do Age of Sigmar, and you had all these new Nurgle fantasy models come out. Within 2 years, suddenly, for the first time ever, you had a Death Guard Codex and all these Death Guard models. And then you had all these Tzeentch Age of Sigmar models come out. And then within like a year, you had the first ever Thousand Suns Codex. So what a lot of people don't realize is these days with Games Workshop doing everything on computers, they rely on what's called digital art libraries. And it's just like all sorts of stuff. It's like iconography, it's images, it's motifs, and it's like a digital image library that they can, you know, pick and pull from when they start putting these models on the computer. And one of the cost savings and benefits they have is that obviously, you know, they can use that stuff across not only the demons for both fantasy or Sigmar and 40K, but they can also do it with, let's say, Khorne Bloodbound and World Eaters Codex, right? And that's exactly what you saw with the Thousand Suns and the Death Guard. Is the motifs were really heavily based off of the stuff that came first in fantasy. And if you look at the model for Karn that came out that they redid, he suddenly has these skulls like in the armor, and that was first in the Age of Sigmar Bloodbound guys they came out with. They're using the same imagery and some of the same you know, basic stuff that they already have in the computer files and just changing it to power armor. And so, yeah, James, Fabius with Iron Warrior sounds pretty cool. And so that's why I think it's not a coincidence that you have all this new Slaanesh demon stuff coming out, and then today you have this. It could be something Dark Eldar, but it really looks like Fabius Battle to me. And if you notice, I don't know how many of you have gotten your copies of Vigilus Ablaze yet, but if you open it in there, and it's the same thing in Shadow Spear when they go over, you know, some of the artwork and stuff. You look in here, and when they talk about all these different armies that are on Vigilus, and they talk about, you know, what is chaos, and you know, who all is showing up there, all the forces of chaos. It's kind of interesting because they don't really show off, you know, any of the other chapters. You know, they'll have like Iron Warriors, and they'll have these Renegade chapters and stuff. But you know, there's a page, especially in Shadow Spear, where they've got all the normal Chaos Space Marine legions, the Traitor Legions, and then they have some Renegades, and the only ones of the Traitor Legions that they're not showing you are the World Eaters and the Emperor's Children. And then you have something like, you know, what's right here, and you know, to me the signs are obvious. They want to do Emperor's Children Codex, they want to do a World Eaters Codex, and they want to release a model of the Primarch Angron and of Fulgrim. And so, yeah, Michael, I think these are new codexes. They're spreading them out because they are a public company and they want to be able to pump out profitable quarters and years all the time. And so and they also know that Chaos players only have so much wallet size, and so, you know, there's this thing about cannibalizing wallet share if you're thinking about your retail customers. And so I think it's pretty clear that they are just spreading the stuff out. I think we could see an Emperor's Children or World Eaters Codex before the end of the year, and I think it would be Emperor's Children now. They have all the corn stuff ready because they did 2 or 3 waves of stuff for the Bloodbound guys, but I think it's going to be there's a good chance it's going to be Slaanesh, because, of course, some of you have seen this. Hey, look, what about that? All of a sudden, we have these new Slaanesh models, right? Hopefully, all of you guys have seen this video already. Yeah, Michael, I'll go broke when they come out, too. So, you have these amazing new models. You've got, you know, the mask there. You've got a new Greater Demon. I don't know how many of you have seen the comparison before, but this new Keeper of Secrets is about as tall as the new the Bloodthirster model. Or it's about the size almost, it's almost as tall as the Lord of Change, which if you've seen the new Lord of Change is really tall. And so it's an amazing model. It comes with some war gear options. We saw like a shield. And on the day where they announced that video where you saw it all, someone asked the Warhammer community page, the folks there, hey, does this mean we are going to get new models? And they actually responded. They said, yeah, you're getting new are you getting new rules? And the Warhammer community staff commented, yeah, you're going to get new rules for all of these models. The Mask is getting new rules. Keeper Secret is getting new rules. I guess it's going to be like a Herald. Whatever these new terrain pieces are, because there's like 2 of them. There's this portal, which, by the way, is really suggestive if you look closely at that Slaanesh portal, right? I don't think that's an accident. I think someone is having a really fun time with that terrain piece you see there in the corner. But anyway, you know, there's also a bigger one that has like a Keeper of Secrets. The head is coming through the portal. And so we're going to get rules for all of that. But, you know, Games Workshop, they come out with the models first and the rules later, which doesn't always work out. I wish they wouldn't do that, but that's how they do it. But now that they're coming out with new models, they're going to give new rules, right? And we saw the same thing with Obliterators. And they're going to have, usually like how tough a unit is, depends how big it is. And so I think you're going to see the Keeper of Secrets get up to 18 wounds, just like all the other Greater Demons. And we'll see what other rules they get. I'm very excited. I've got some really cool Creature Caster big demons that are, you know, look Slaanesh, so I'm going to use those. I hope they don't change the mask too much, because I actually think the mask is really good. But who knows, you know. Mask used to like shut down enemy units in combat, right, in 6th and 7th edition, so maybe we're even going to get that again. But if you didn't know that, get excited. you know, these aren't just beautiful new models for your Slaanesh demon armies. They are also going to get new rules, and that's just going to combo up with all the stuff I've already, you know, spent the last 40 minutes talking about. All right, so let's move on to the next thing, since we've been going on for a little while. You know, and by the way, in case you didn't see it already, Slaanesh is waking up. So they've been priming this for a long time in Slaanesh, in Age of Sigmar, and so with Slaanesh waking up in a fantasy setting and all the models coming out, I think it's only a matter of time for Emperor's Children. And if you read the 8th edition rulebook, or you read the stuff for you know, the trilogy where Guilliman comes back before 8th edition was launched, and you read some of the other stuff that has come out, here and there they really hint that Fulgrim is active in these combat zones. And so I think we're going to get that pretty soon. Michael, thoughts on the new Havoc rules? Yeah, oh, I mean, how can I forget that, right? I've got some lists that I've been posting on my Facebook page at Hexfleet Virules on Facebook, and I'm right now, you know, I've got it right here. I've got my Pop Goes the Monkey, like little chaos, you know, cannons. They're a little hard to see, but they're really cool. I'm making 8 Havocs with rotator cannons, and I am making, you know, 4 Havocs with last cannon. So I'm going to have 3 full squads of Havocs and an Alpha Legion detachment, and they're going to be all Marcus Slaanesh. So everything in my new Chaos Space Marine list is Marcus Slaanesh across 3 different detachments. So again, that's why I think Slaanesh is the new Chaos Space Marine meta. Yeah, they're really good. All right, so let me go to the, and I'll post pictures once I convert those up with the third-party models. I'm going to cut up the Shadow Spear box and the new Chaos Space Marine Infantry box. So I've got 20 Marines, and I'm going to cut them all up and make them all Havocs. I haven't gotten to playtest them yet. It's going to be, I'm going to vacation end of April for 2 weeks, and so in the meantime, I'm going to be ordering Terminators, a Lord Discordant, and putting together these Havocs. I've been in school since August, about 25 hours a week of work and school on top of a full-time job. So now I've got 2 weeks of break before vacation. I'm going to be trying to build some of these models and ordering some, and hopefully getting some free products by winning some more tournaments and stuff. So that's the plan, is the rest of the ITC season, when I can go to tournament, with school starting up again, I'm going to play all Chaos Space Marines with all Marcus Slaanesh. So we'll see how that goes. But let's talk about something else. I promised you guys that I was going to put my money where my mouth is and go to a tournament, right, with that list that I spent a lot of time talking about in episode 2 of Warp Surge Radio. If you haven't seen that, go and check that out. But I said, hey, I think you could make a halfway decent competitive tournament list with Mortarion, despite all the reasons that big models, you know, for Tyranids and Chaos are just bad because they can get, you know, all these psychic powers on them, Castellans can shoot them, Yannari Dark Reapers. But I said, I think you could still make it work, especially if you use the fact that you can make detachments that are all keyword Tzeentch or Slaanesh or Nurgle, and that's what I did here. So this is a list that I came up with that I call Mortarion's Royal Court, and you can see there what I brought, and I've actually got a Nurgle Supreme Command detachment that's got a Death Guard unit, a Chaos Space Marine unit, and 2 Codex Demon units. And I've got all the powers in there that I need. I've got the Warp Time. I've got the, you know, Heal D3 on a Nurgle Demon. I've got the Death Guard powers for -1 to hit and mortal wounds on a 6+ and +1 to wound, or on a 7+. And then I also have the power for the Nurgle Demon power that also gives you +1 to wound, which you can also cast in Mortarion, and it doubles damage. And so suddenly, both of those abilities are proccing on 5s or 6s to wound with Mortarion, and he rerolls 1s to wound, right? Because he has that plague weapon. So suddenly you have a big force multiplier, and that played into my games, which I'll get into in a second. But here I've got a dual threat list, because, by the way, this list also has 10 Blight Lords with 8 Combi Plasmas, so they're going to kill a lot of stuff with shooting, and 2 Flails of Corruption. So it's got, and then behind that, there's also 2 Nurgle Demon Princes, right? And you've got 3 Death Shroud Terminators, and they're tanking for Mortarion at the first part of the game. So not bad at all. Well, let's get into what this list actually looks like. Let's see if I've got a picture of everything that I can pull up here. So this is a picture from the tournament. I'll make it bigger so you guys can take a look. You know, beautiful models that I've got there. You can see my Mortarion painted by GMM Studios. You can see my other models. If you want to see better pictures of these, obviously you want to go probably to my Facebook page where I've got that album where you can see these gorgeous models close up. But you could see a lot of my sculpting work, a lot of my conversion work. You know, I turned those creature caster models into something that looks much more Nurgle and Death Guard with the bits and the magnetized wings on the middle one. And so I'm really proud of these, really love them. And it was so fun to go there and play with these guys. And not only did I win first place in the tournament, but I also got best painted. So that's why they gave me best overall. And so let me just go through some of these games. My first game was actually also against another Death Guard player. And you can see here, this is after, I think, my first kind of move, you know, at the end of my first movement phase. And this guy, he had a whole, you know, he had a separating plate demon prince. He had some fetid bloat drones. He had a whole bunch of plague marines with power fists and the plague launchers. And now the power fists are only 8 points each. You put them on a tough thing like a sergeant in a plague marine squad. I underestimated that, right? There was a couple times I thought Mortarion was going to go down to some, you know, 5-man plague marine squads with just a hidden power fist. So I will not underestimate that. But I got to go first, and he has all this shooting. And he has 3 plague burst crawlers. You can see 2 of them there. One of them has entropy cannons. So I'm a little worried if I should play cautiously or not. But he's got way more shooting. So I said I need to go in really hard and even run Mortarion away from the guys that were blocking for him and just keep him away from the other objectives, because I knew if he was going to get into that building, it was absolutely bad news bears for me with all those little guys in the middle. Unless my I forced my Terminators to go in there or my Death Shroud, I was not going to get him out. And so I moved up Mortarion, and you know, maybe actually I think this shot might be from a little earlier in the match. Well, or maybe that's just when I took the picture. So essentially what ended up happening is Mortarion gets in there and he does a lot of damage. He kills some of those Plague Marines, but then he's got these bloat drones hitting him. He's got the enemy Demon Prince. He's got these Plague Marines, and I feel a ton of saves and feel no pains. And suddenly, you know, right away, Mortarion is down to 1 wound, and I think I'm in trouble. And so second turn, I have to commit at that point because Mortarion's too wounded to fly back to the Death Shroud Terminators. And I deep strike in, as you see in the middle bottom there, my 10-man squad of Blightlord Terminators. And they shoot a bunch of stuff, and then I get very lucky. They make that 9-inch charge. And by the way, the relic I used here, you see that guy on the crate? That's my Chaos Lord and Terminator armor, and he's got the relic helm, Fulgara's helm or whatever it's called, and that extends his aura. So I found this works actually really well with Blightlord Terminators, because a lot of times they're going to make the charge with the reroll, but what is my Joe Schmo Chaos Lord going to do if he just doesn't make that 9-inch charge? Then I have to string a bunch of Blight Lords back, and I can't wrap or push up as far as I want to, because one of them needs to stay within 6 inches of the Lord. Well, you add that realm, and this list I have a free relic anyway that I don't know what to do with, and suddenly that reroll 1's aura extends 9 inches. And in this case, I have Mortarion, but he was about to go down, and so I really appreciated putting that helm on the Chaos Lord in this game. And that let me surround enough guys and do enough damage that, with some saves, somehow Mortarion, you know, lives again another round, another battle player round with just 1 wound left. You know, and I'm sweating bullets the whole time. And then we get into this really weird situation where, you know, my Blight Lords are starting to go down, and but they're doing enough damage. I'm winning the objectives, and slowly I'm limping Mortarion with 1 wound, you know, back around the building, and I'm warp timing up my Death Shroud to tank for him so that Mortarion's not going to die with this 1 wound he has left. And with my stuff starting to go down, and the Foul Blight spawn over there, that you can see some of my Terminators surrounding his Foul Blight spawn by the upper left building. You know, I'm like, well, you know, I actually could lose this game pretty badly if these guys all end up going down. And things got kind of dicey. And in the end, I only have 3 of the Blight Lords left, or 4 of them. But they surround a Foul Blight spawn, keep him from running away. I've got a Demon Prince on 1 wound that's doing some damage, and so this whole time I'm also nervous about Mortarion because this guy, he also has 5 Blight Lord Terminators, and they are in reserve, and they come down. But at this point, with Mortarion hiding with the Death Shroud, I've been casting Heal D3 on him, so I got him back up to 4 or 5 wounds, jumped him on top of that middle building, and then jumped him to the other side with Warp Time. And just, you know, got him right next to his Blight Lords, and I threw all the powers on him again and charged into the Blight Lords, killed all 5 Blight Lord Terminators in 1 go. Mortarion's back down to 1 wound. But so this whole game, he's barely been alive, but he's just doing work. And so all that together was enough, with all the little tricks and all the warp times and everything. It was enough to get me the win. And as you can see here, at the end, all he has left is like 2 Plague Burst Crawlers, basically. And so it could have been a pretty scary game, but pulled out a pretty overwhelming victory in that first match. And then I actually ended up playing my second game on that same table there. So this is a guy I played before, a really nice guy, Ian. He has a beautifully painted army of Blood Angels and Knights, with a normal Knight, that's the Warlord with you know, the Relic Plasma Gun, and then 2 Helverants with the ranged shots. But he also has like 14 Death Company with some special weapons, and he has Lamardis, and he has like 10 Sanguinary Guard, and he has 2 Smash Captains, and he's got a good number of guys with Bolters. So his list, I think, is really, really good. He's also got the Banner guy for the 5-up Feel No Pain on all the models, the characters, the Sanguinary Guard. Really scary army that has a ton of shooting with the Knights and you know, some of the short range guns on his Jump Pack guys. So he has way more damage than me. He could kill Mortarion in 1 round of shooting. He actually did kill all 3 of my Death Shroud Terminators because he went first. He killed them in the first turn. And he's got all these guys that can really hurt me. They can go into buildings. And so it's a tough matchup. And he went first here. He moved, as you see here, these Death Company. He moved them 3d6 or whatever it is. And so he was able to first charge me and kill all my poor Death Shroud Terminators who were behind the wall there. However, after he did that, you know, he ran in, he killed like some guys, got some first blood. At that point, he moved up all his Sanguinary Guard. He did Descent of Angels on Lamardis to bring him to the Death Company. At that point, I'm like, hey, Mortarion needs to go and fight all those Knights and things, or he's going to get shot. The Death Shroud are gone. But, you know, I've got these Death Company here in my back. What am I going to do? And I've got Lamardis over there. And so I had to make the decision that I was going to have Mortarion and all the Demon Princes charge into these guys and just completely clean them up, or I was going to be in trouble. And so I cast all the powers that I'm talking about on Mortarion, and, you know, I don't know if you guys have ever seen what Mortarion does when you really bring all those characters with him and cast all those powers on him. So, you know, he moves in and it's just, let me see, I think I have a picture of it here. Yeah, okay, so that's how many wounds I did to that squad of Death Company with Mortarion, and that doesn't count that I did like 8 mortal wounds, or 10, you know, I think, no, I did like 12 mortal wounds, and then those are the rest of the wounds, right? So I did like 40 wounds to that squad of Death Company with Mortarion, and people don't realize that you can give him prescience and you know, Blades of Putrefaction, and then the Nurgle power. What's it called? I'm looking it up right now. Virulent. No, that's the Warlord trait. Virulent Blessing, right? And so Mortarion's going to be hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s for 18 attacks. But hey, Imperials, you know, you proc Death to the False Emperor. It's 1 attack for every 5, you know, 6 or 5 if you cast Prescience on them, which I did. So every 5 or 6 is an extra attack from those original 18. Well, an attack using that mode of his Scythe is 3 attack rolls. So, you know, 18, you know, attacks initially, and then a third of those, so 6, are going to give you 3 more. So on average, you should be doing 18 plus 18 attacks on an Imperial unit when you've got Prescience on Mortarion. And then, you know, you're wounding on 2s, rerolling 1s. Well, now on you've got +2 to wound with those 2 psychic powers. So now every 5 or 6 on those 36 attacks is also a mortal wound, and you're rerolling 1s. And each one of those 5 or 6s is 2 damage. So you can just, I kill knights in one go with, not with the D6 attack mode, but with the 1 damage each, AP -2 attack mode. Because you can get so many attacks and so many mortal wounds off of this. You know, you just clear right through Guilliman or someone that just relies on an invulnerable save. And so that's why I built this list the way I did, is so I could bring all those buffs to put on Mortarion. And so Mortarion easily kills an entire squad of Death Company. And at that point, he brings all these guys up, the Sanguinary Guard, a bunch of jump pack guys. It's pretty scary. And fortunately, I don't... he has 2 Smash Captains, including his Warlord, don't make the charge, which would have been pretty scary, because at this point he's also shooting me with the Knights and stuff, although I'm making much better saves than I did the first game. So I got lucky in this game in that sense. So at that point, I get very lucky, and he misses 2 of the charges. He's out of range because he's going pretty aggressively on me because he doesn't want me to warp time into them. He has the banner guy out of range, which I think maybe he could have gotten him in. It was a bit of a mistake, maybe, I don't know, but you know, I'm pretty far away, so that's probably why. So he's got a full squad of Sanguinary Guard, and they're still in range for the rerolls, and so, you know, he's got all these guys that charge my Mortarion, who just got done killing 14 Death Company, easily. And so this entire squad of Sanguinary Guard charges in. You know, they don't do very much damage to Mortarion, but I've still got all those buffs on him that I killed the Death Company with. And so what ends up happening is you've got all this Sanguinary Guard on him, and Mortarion kills the entire squad of Sanguinary Guard in 1 round as well, with all those buffs on him. So that's what I say. People don't expect those tricks with Mortarion when you've got all that stuff on him. And so he has this really cool, beautifully converted Warlord Smash Captain, and he's got like third-party bits on him, beautifully painted. And, you know, I took this shot, really cinematic. I thought it was cool. You know, at this point, I've got my 2 kind of custom Nurgle Demon Princes, and they go fight Mr. Super Smash Captain, you know, who's a real hero for facing down those 2 really scary-looking guys by himself. You know, it's just, you know, the beauty of Warhammer is some of these cool moments you have even at a tournament. You know, you can see there he's kind of converted. Pretty cool model, but, you know, they do a lot of damage to him and eventually kill him. And at this point, you know, he's got another Smash Captain elsewhere. And so Mortarion goes up. Mortarion kills the other Smash Captain. He kills a squad of Primaris. He kills the guy holding the banner. He's just on a rampage at this point. You know, I do some damage, you know, to the knight with my Blight Lords that come in shooting plasma. And then, you know, Mortarion goes and kills the rest of the knight. So at this point, Mortarion's killed all 14 Death Company easily in 1 round. He's killed all 10 Sanguinary Guard in 1 round when he got charged. he killed a Smash Captain, he's killed Primarius, and now he just killed a Knight, right? And so you just get all these powers on him, and I keep trying to heal him with my allied Nurgle Demon Princes for the Fleshy Abundance power. And, you know, Mortarion is just trekking his way through the army, and he just had a ridiculous kill count this game, which was a lot of fun. And so then I go into my final game, my hardest game, which I actually didn't win. I tied it. It was against Thomas Oakley, or Hegstrom Oakley. He is, some of you know him. He was in 2016 or 2017 ITC ranked #1 Space Marine player in the country. He is one of the head judges at LVO. He helped Frontline Gaming write the rules packet for the terrain. He runs the Rudder GT in Utah, which you should consider coming to. He brings tons of terrain for his own event, his own tournament he hosts once a month at a place called Blackfire Games. Not just that, but he brings, along with his friends, a bunch of terrain to all the other, small tournaments around the state. And so here's a guy, great player, great, knows the rules. He's a tournament organizer, and he is a judge, and he just contributes to the hobby in a huge way. And he and his wife have a great painting studio called Pixies and Pistols, I think. And you should check it out on Facebook. He's a very talented painter, and so is his wife. And so I'm in this game. We're on a pretty open table. I can't really hide. And he has a Devastator squad. He's got Guilliman. He's got, 2 squads of 3 plasma pistol, interceptors that just do a ton of shots, all re-wounding to hit and roll with Guilliman. He's got these allied, little Imperial Guard squads that move, and move on all the objectives. And worst of all, he's got the, super broken, undercosted, 85-point, assassin for 1 command point, and he gets to pick what to bring in. And so he's got this Caluxus in there and the big mishmash in the middle. And as soon as I go near that Caluxus, I'm -2 to deny, I'm -2 to cast, I can only hit it on 6s. He's got this flamer that will just kill all my Psyker models from 18 inches away with some stratagems, and so he can activate a stratagem off of it that I fight last on everything within 3 inches, and it's really hard to even go near him just for an 85-point model by itself, right? So I can't really bum rush him just because of that stupid Caluxus assassin, and so instead I decided to do something that I think really took him by surprise, which is I actually just move Mortarion up, slowly, and I warp time up my Death Shroud, and I hide them. And you've got these 2 objectives in the middle of the board here, and I'm just like, hey, you can't move up your guys unless you sacrifice, your infantry squads, which is what he ended up doing. He ended up moving them up a lot faster than I thought with the orders. And you've got these 2, barricades in the middle here with an objective on each side, and I'm like, if you want these objectives, you need to get close to me, and which he does. So a lot of rounds he was getting the objective because he kept sacrificing objective secured guard squads at it, and I was getting kill more because I was killing them. But the whole time he's also shooting at me, and he's got these guys coming down doing plasma. And so, I mess with him a little bit, and I can position, and I lose the Death Shroud, but I do give him a hard time with that. And so then eventually I move up, I bring down the Death Shroud, I charge in, and the end of the game gets pretty messy. The Caluxus comes in, really messes me up like I thought. I roll really bad on saves. Mortarion goes down. I'm in for 5 rounds of combat, 5 fight phases. My Demon Prince can't kill the Caluxus. I come really close a bunch of times. And I bring down Bobby G at the Blight Lords. But then, they fight last because the Caluxus stratagem the next round. And so they can't kill Bobby G a second time. And then they're mostly wiped out. And just a lot of bad saves, a lot of bad luck, and it all comes down to how brutal that Caluxus assassin is, almost winning the game by itself. And I'm holding the bottom objective barely with some zombies that kill his infantry squads, create more zombies, put them next to the objective, so suddenly I have more to get that objective at the end of the game. I've got a single Blight, Death Shroud Terminator at the top running around trying to kill guys. And he's got, Bobby G on 4 wounds, who I couldn't kill with all the Caluxus stuff and the bad saves. And then the game, I was going to win if in the end I could just get the last wound on his assassin. And I roll really badly. and he makes both of his invulnerable saves. If he'd failed either one of those, I would have won the game, and instead we tied. But I, at this point, I had -1 on my Blight Lord, so when his intercessors came down and shot, he overcharged them, and so all 3 of them died from overcharging when they came down with 1s and 2s, even with the Bobby G reroll, and that was one of my marked for death units for my ITC secondaries, and I killed a bunch of stuff, but I just, with all the Caluxus stuff, and then Bobby G coming back and hitting hard, I just didn't have enough juice to kill the rest of his things, but neither of us had that much left by the end of it, so it was a wacky game, and I think we were both pretty happy to tie that one. And so it was a really fun tournament. I enjoyed, getting best painted and stuff and getting first place. So they gave me best overall. Was pretty fun. And I was happy to put my money where my mouth was and take first place at the tournament with the Mortarion list. So there's how my games went. There's some of my tips and tricks. Was a lot of fun, but I think what I'm going to do, I am able to go to a tournament in 2 weeks, and I'm going to do something totally different. I'm going to bring a list that is all Thousand Suns and Tzeentch Demons. Just because they're beautifully painted, and I'm trying to show off as much as I can in terms of my models. I'm trying to reach as many different Chaos fans as possible, and I want to win Best Painted to try to pick up some more of the new Chaos models, and I just want to show people different tactics, different Chaos lists. I want to show people what it's like to play with all 4 of the Chaos Gods. I've got a bunch of corn stuff that I'm probably going to play with at some point. So, I'm trying lots of different things. I'm trying to provide cool content for you guys in terms of battle reports, in terms of lists that I come up with, in terms of pictures of beautiful models that I put on my Facebook page or on Instagram, where I'm at Hexfleet Virules. So, just trying to make as much cool stuff for you guys as I can. If there's anything you guys want to know about in particular, or you want me to play at a tournament, let me know. But please, if you don't already, follow me on Facebook, facebook.com/HexfleetVirules. Subscribe, please, on YouTube so that I know it's worth my time to keep making these videos for you guys. And, follow me on Instagram at HexfleetVirules. So, I'm amazed at the number of subscribers I got on YouTube just in the last month. I am amazed that, I think I'm at almost 2,300 followers on Instagram. I am approaching 2,000 likes on Facebook. So obviously there's a lot of Chaos fans out there. I think it's sad that all these podcasts that always, or, people who write articles for the Warhammer community page, they are not Chaos players, and so I'm a huge Chaos fan, play all 4 gods, play demons, play Thousand Suns, Death Guard, Chaos Space Marines. So I know it all pretty well. Been playing it for years. And so I'm trying to fill that void by giving you guys cool content and talking about what you guys want to hear, and giving you guys cool ideas, cool modeling tips, cool tricks for when you're at your next game, and just trying to make it good for you guys. So does anyone have anything that they wanted to ask, right here at the end here as we wrap up? If so, just type it in the chat box, and, I'll answer. Yeah, I'm doing the Chaos Lord's work. I appreciate that. Just try to have a good time with everything, and giving you guys lots of stuff. I appreciate you guys who are, watching everything live. It's cool that you guys will tune in and chat with me about everything. So thanks for coming. I'm going to try to figure out a way to put these guys on iTunes or something like that. And, just get it to where as many people can see it as possible. James, I appreciate that. I am going to do a Patreon at one point, and I'm also maybe going to do like a quick ad, on these YouTube videos at the start, but I don't want to do that yet because, I've had the Facebook page for a long time and a lot of people like it. I get a lot of attention now on Instagram with Hexfleet Virules. And now these videos are starting to be pretty popular. I think that they're growing pretty fast, but I think people who ask for you to donate, they need to prove that they're giving you good content before they ask you to donate. And so I'm going to try to do a couple more of these videos and to keep putting out cool content on Facebook and Instagram. Maybe I'll set up that Patreon like in a month or so when I'm back from my vacation. But I want to prove to you guys that the stuff I'm doing is worth your time first. And then once I've proven it's worth your time, I will ask for donations, not for my pocketbook, right? You know, if you saw my GMM commission, you know that I spend probably a lot of money on that. But what I'd like to do is do a Patreon that I can use to reinvest in the stuff I'm doing for you guys. So, like, I don't have, you know, a good microphone here. I've just got this webcam. And so if I got like a $60 or $70 microphone, I would probably have better audio. The thing I really want to get is a tripod, because I have this beautiful, you know, desk behind me. Let me even see if I can show you guys real quick. So here in the background in my room, you're going to see, oh, I guess I can't do that. So let me fix that real quick here. Sorry about that. I guess I have to do it in the other program. So in my room here, you guys might have seen on my little page that, you know, I've got this crazy chaos room, right? And so you can see here now that it's back. Let me try to get out of the way here. I've got this super crazy room with all this chaos stuff everywhere. I have a steel table that's designed for Warhammer with beautiful terrain. I've got multiple mats, multiple sets of custom terrain. I've got chaos themed tables, and I have decent lighting in here, but I'd like better lighting. But the thing I really need is a tripod for my camera so that I can, you know, film battle reports for you guys and make them nice, and use some of the same Photoshop stuff that I do for this, for my other graphics to make it good production values for you guys. So thanks for asking about the Patreon. I might get on that in the next few weeks or the next month. But if you guys do donate, that's what it's going to go towards. It's going to go towards producing cool content for you guys. So that's all I've got. Thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you have other thoughts, post them in the comments, post them on my page. I'm always looking to hear from you guys. And I hope that you learned a lot tonight about the new Slaanesh stuff, some of the combos. And I hope that you guys had a good time here. So thanks so much for tuning in. And if you guys have any ideas about what I should do next time for my next episode, let me know. Thanks, guys.